Amazing. So I am joined by the amazing Kima who just wrapped up 12 weeks of working together. Do you mind just introducing yourself and the amazing work that you do in the world?
Absolutely. So I work for the state of Montana. I am with the Montana Department of Agriculture, and I'm an Ag Services Bureau Chief. So natural resources, a bunch of different service programs, science programs for the state of Montana.
I love that. So tell me, Kima, when you first reached out to me, what was going on with you, your wardrobe, how you were showing up, all of the things?
Sure. So I had been in my position for a couple of years, so relatively new. Had moved into it from a field position, so definitely a big shift into management, feeling sort of out of my depth a little bit, and just didn't feel like I was showing up authentically in the workplace. I like to think that I'm a colorful person and want to show that I'm fun and approachable. And I was, sort of pushing myself into, um, you know, a square peg into a round hole where I was doing the neutrals and trying to just look very businesslike. And I didn't really feel like me. And that was very inhibiting. And I didn't feel authentic in the workplace.
I hear that so much, like kind of like, this is what success looks like. Let's go try that on for size. Ooh, that doesn't feel very good. What
Exactly. Exactly.
what do you feel like through this work was, let's start with like what was the biggest shift? Because I think that there typically is a shift from that proving to finding yourself. What do you feel was like the biggest thing that you experienced with going through this process?
I really think it just opened up, you know, what's possible for me. I was hoping to get where I felt more authentic and I was showing up more as myself in the workplace. But with the confidence to do that and to be myself in the workplace, I think I've just really started to imagine new possibilities and um am not as limiting as I was initially. And I think for me that's just revelatory. The getting confidence to be who I was and inhabit colorful clothes and be fun and be approachable, that was sort of like evidently low hanging fruit. But the work that we did in this program, um, and sort of recognizing some of my self-limiting thoughts, and once I started to feel more confident and inhabit who I really was and show up that way in the workplace, I think it opened up some doors that I didn't even really see that were there and available to me.
I love that so much. What do you feel is the biggest tactical and practical thing when it comes to how you're showing up? Is it more about like the time? Is it more about kind of have feeling more you, or is it something else?
It was for me uh, about making this a priority in my life to a certain extent. I've been about getting work done, and the appearance piece of it had always sort of been on the back work burner for me. This is like any other thing that's worth putting in the effort. It's worth committing the time and committing the getting some education so that you know what's available to you, have some tools, know the basic rules and when to break them. And it's like learning or taking on any other new skill. And I think recognizing it as a skill set that I needed to work at, that I'm going to continue to work at, and then I need to prioritize resources, time, and energy towards, that was a huge thing for me.
Yeah, I feel like kind of we don't realize even how much time is leaking, like without figuring it out and doing the work.
Yes, and you can spend a lot of time thinking you're accomplishing stuff, doing the panic shop before I have a conference, and still coming out with things that you aren't going to use all of the time and that are going to largely sit in your closet. Or you can learn to do it the right way, and then there is no more panic. And the energy you put towards this is way more productive. That's
Yeah.
the way it feels to me.
Yeah. And what do you feel like at the end of 12 weeks? What do you think is your big like goal that you've accomplished?
I do really feel like I'm showing up more as myself in the workplace, and I think that comes across. I've been told that comes across, and I think it's great for my confidence. I think that confidence then shows, and people see me more in a leadership role and as the competent, approachable professional that I am and that I want to be recognized as. And, that there is lots of growth here. There's lots of potential here. So I think that's been really huge for me. Um, and it just keeps getting better, really. So this has been a great investment in myself.
I love that. So one of the conversations that we've had often is the, am I in the right place? Is this the right place for me? I think that typically a lot of the women that I work with have very forward facing roles, either what they're an attorney or they are on stages or something like that. And this is a conversation that we had, I feel, when we first started, and then also kind of towards the end. What would you say to someone who is kind of thinking like, this is all well and good, but I don't know if this is the right next step for me?
I definitely had doubts, and I definitely recognize that I may not be, your typical someone that's got a big event or is preparing for television or a big court date or something like that. But the benefit to myself, and in turn the benefit to my work, the benefit to my agency, the benefit to the people that I represent, that has just paid off so heavily. And um, I think I've told you, I feel like this is the best investment I've made for myself next to buying my own home. And I don't say that lightly. This has been a game changer for me. And I do think it has opened up doors both in my own mind, which is the most important thing, right? The doing this for me was really the most important thing. But showing up in the workplace more confident, showing up a little bit more polished, a little bit elevated, looking like I am ready for that next job that maybe I want, that makes me even more valuable to my agency, to my community, and my stakeholders. So I would really encourage people that feel like they don't necessarily know that this is for them, or how is this going to show up. Like it's amazing how it shows up, even if it's not on screen somewhere or in front of the Supreme Court. Like this has real value.
Yeah. And I think one of the most important things that I've said this to, and I say this to everyone, is like, we are the celebrity in our own life. And how dare any woman not take center stage and say, who am I to do this work? And as the conversations that we've had inside the program and one-on-one is, as women, at some point, we're always made to feel that we're too much. Like that we're a little bit like extravagant or fancy, or there's something that's like in there. And it's kind of, especially working in a male dominated field, this idea of like, am I trying too hard? Am I coming off as too feminine? And that really rolls over to how we see ourselves. And unless we perceive ourselves as really important, and not only how we look, but that our opinion matters and that our work matters, no one's going to do that for us. We need to be the person who puts a stake in the ground and say, listen, I'm doing really hard work and I'm important. Therefore, like, let me in the room. Let me be part of the conversation. And if we don't take ourselves seriously, no one else is going to. So I also love that you realize that like you wanted to put you first and invest in yourself, and that you are a priority in your own life, because that in itself is part of the work as well. What would you say to
Absolutely.
I'm so excited. What would you say to someone who's on the fence? Whether it is like, I want to lose weight, or I don't have enough time, or anything like that, because we could all, convince ourselves that now is not the right time. What would you say to someone who's experiencing those thoughts?
Now is the time, right? Like that's just the truth. We can put off all sorts of goals and pleasures and everything until XYZ is perfect. And I certainly am still working on things. But going ahead and getting this piece um, is just helping me move forward on all of the other goals. And so, I wouldn't wait. If anything, I would have liked to have done this maybe before I took my promotion. And who knows, maybe I would have been considered for a promotion sooner. But it would have been helpful to me to arrive on day one, kind of feeling more myself and being more confident in the way I was showing up in the workplace. And as far as um, the trying to find the time, there is some time commitment, but I found it to be very manageable. The system that you have allows you to do it sort of at your own pace, and sort of catch as catch can to a certain extent. And if you need to take a week off, like you've always been able to work with folks and make that happen. So it's very doable, even with a lot of commitments on your career and in your personal life. So I definitely don't think the time commitment, the effort that's going in should be a reason not to get started on it. But I'm glad I didn't put it off any longer and wish I'd done it sooner.
I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for your time. Is there any other things that you feel like you want to share, or do you feel like we are complete?
I guess the only other thing that I would say is for those of you that are like me, who feel like you are dressing two different ways, that you have a split personality, you're this very professional person at work and you're wearing the neutrals and you're doing all of the things you're supposed to do right, and then you feel completely disconnected from who you are in your real life, in your personal life. Like, there is no need for that. And I know it was uncomfortable for me, and I felt like I was living two different lives, and gosh, they should never cross, because no one's going to know who the heck I am, and why am I so different. And the comfort I have found all the way around, like now I just am me all of the time, and I am colorful and fun and approachable and competent and professional in all realms. And what a comfort that is, to just be me. And so I really appreciate having gotten that out of this opportunity.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. I literally was just having a conversation about self-abandonment because we're not showing up authentically. And that is literally, I feel like, what is running women that work in male-dominated fields, that have this idea of this is what success and professional look like. And they literally feel like they're in a straitjacket, because this is like, what if they find my personality? And the beautiful thing that I think that you got to experience, and that other women get to experience as they get to trust themselves to be more them, you start to realize that you being a little bit more feminine, a little bit more softer, a little bit more edgy, have a different point of view, actually is your leg up in your career. And the reason why you have your job, you just like, there's this thought running your show of like, what if they find out?
Absolutely. That's that, like, oh gosh, I don't want to run into anyone from work at Costco wearing my regular clothes. And now I'm just me, and my personal life is a little bit better dressed and a little bit more cohesive, but it's still colorful and it's still fun. And the work world, I'm really showing up, and that's been huge for my confidence. And I think it's going to pay off long term for me, career wise. I just know that it will.
I love that. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and thank you for being you.
Thank you.